Today I got a request for a Street Fighter redesign. I got asked to look at Necalli from Street Fighter 5 and to actually give him a newer design for Street Fighter 6. So let's see if I can give him a better looking design, or at least see if I can give him a design that's fit for a redemption, because he needs one. Alright, first things first. I think most people can agree that Necalli as a character in Street Fighter 6, I keep wanting to say Street Fighter 6, it's a force of habit at this point. Necalli in Street Fighter 5 was horribly disappointing as a character. Not necessarily in the way that he played, I think Necalli played decent enough, but like his story, he was so hyped up. That initial Street Fighter 5 trailer with Necalli looked insane, especially considering we didn't know nothing about him. Hell, most people was looking at him thinking he was the next big villain of Street Fighter, but no, it's still Bison. And Necalli just did nothing in the story mode. He mattered nothing. He just growled and grunted at people and wanted to devour people for some reason. No decent explanations. He just got smashed by Ryu and it was over. Like, he was done after that. Even the puddle evaporation stuff that he was doing wasn't even explained. Like, just such a lackluster handling of his story. I'm not gonna lie, I was actually hoping that he did come back for Street Fighter 6, though I'm not surprised that he didn't. But in doing all these redesigns for the channel, I was actually happy that someone had suggested Necalli. I'm actually shocked that I myself didn't even think about doing one for him, but it's definitely gonna be interesting. So let's get into this character design. Alright, one of my biggest problems with Necalli's primary Street Fighter 5 design was he looked so interesting and unique, but in terms of trying to do a redesign of the character, it created a lot of problems for me. One of the biggest ones being, I wanted to do a design that sort of made his character and his look and feel like justice, but there were two issues. Number one, his original main design, that primary design like I mentioned earlier, there's not a lot to it outside of like his facial expressions and his hair. He's not really wearing that many clothes, and there's nothing special about the actual clothes he's wearing. Most of the design is in his personality. The secondary problem is he has some of the greatest looking alternate attires and concept art for a character whose main design is so plain looking that I've ever seen. It was actually hard trying to come up with designs outright just because his actual concept art looked so amazing and there's so much of it. I'm not gonna lie, I actually had to sort of wrap my head around drawing him numerous times because I didn't like what I came up with. Just because the image of those original designs or at least those alternate designs looked so amazing, it's like hard to measure up to those. Also topple that with the fact that the actual artwork for the little mini stories that were in Street Fighter 5, the little character chapters, the design there looked also really interesting compared to what the actual main design of the character is in the game. Yeah, there's just a lot to have to measure up to trying to come up with a design. So what I did that I thought would be best is not necessarily going against the grain, just kind of expanding upon his numerous looks and designs and trying to combine them in a way that's interesting. This also means playing with the color palette a little bit, because Necalli has a lot of browns and reds in his designs, and I wanted to change that, sort of taken from those story chapter images. I gave him a lot more purples and greens this time around, and gold too. I felt like there was so many ancient designs and talks of him as a character that I felt like he should have some type of like borderline Egyptian or ancient Egyptian like look to him. I actually looked at a lot of Anubis designs trying to come up with this. So I moved forward from there. As you can see, he has almost like ancient Egyptian clothes over his lower half, his pants and whatnot. I gave him ankle wraps. I'm not really sure why, but I just thought it would be cool. I tried giving him like different types of boots and shoes. I even tried making him barefoot. It either looked too generic or it looked like it was missing something. So the leg wraps was a cop-out, but it actually looked a lot better. Looking at the actual artwork from the story chapters, I saw the little snake sort of design on his arms for one of his like gloves or one of his accessories. So I just thought, the hell with it. I'm just gonna actually give him a snake around his arm itself. Maybe the snake somehow adds to his power, his character somehow. I have no idea. It's Necalli. He already has snake-like hair in the first place. which was also challenging to sort of like, well, not challenging, but a lot of extra time that went into creating that. And then I just gave him like little designs on the pants so it didn't look as plain. A lot of the Street Fighter 6 designs are very extra, so I just went that extra mile with this too. I didn't want to leave it too plain. And then it was coming up with like that perfect color scheme. Before I continue, I wanted to take this time out too, if you've made it this long in the video, to ask you if you want. I'd love it if you like and subscribe to the video and the channel if you haven't. Also, check out my artwork and webcomics on my website, www.shadassassins.com. And now back to the video. So in coming up with his color scheme, like I said, the purples, sort of golds and greens actually was perfect. I had a hard time I was thinking too much originally in like the reds of his design. I'm really glad I broke away from that. Made him look a little more different compared to that original look from Street Fighter 5. Plus his eyes being yellowish already, sort of giving him yellowish eyes, and then the gold clothing. The balance of that was really good. And then the contrast of all the gold in the design and then the purples fit perfectly, considering how unplanned it was on the spot. I made his skin tone a shade darker than what it actually was in the game, just because I figured that it should be, considering how sort of dark and brooding looking of a character he is. And maniacal at times, but like just for being such a dark character and personality, I felt like just making the skin tone a shade darker would make him look crazier. And it worked, along with the yellow eyes. Like I said, it's very abnormal to look at on the outset. Then adding like the shadows and highlights as usual, just to clean up the design and add some polish to it to help finish it off. Normally this would be where I actually start getting into the details of like the specular highlights, and in this particular picture I actually added the scars and whatnot that Necalli has on his body that sort of illuminates when his power goes off. But guess who forgot to record the second half of the video? This guy. So that part of the actual painting is missing, but have no fear, this is the final product. I like the way that I shaded his sort of gold accessories in his clothes after the fact. I actually love that. I also love how the scars on his body came out, considering I didn't originally know how I was going to do that, whether I wanted it to light up like it does when he's powered up, or whether I just wanted to do plain old scars and whatnot. If you call them scars, who knows what they actually are on Necalli, but yeah, I felt like it came out great. And then the look of it on his face made him look wilder. So love to know you guys' feedback. It's always welcome, and plus if you guys have any suggestions, as usual, I'd love to hear them. Don't know when I get around to them, but I'll try my best when I can. And let me know if you think that this Necalli design actually measures up to the original Street Fighter 5 design, or whether this looks like it would be good along with the other Street Fighter 6 characters and sort of updated designs that they have in that game. But in any event, thanks for watching. You all have a good one, and I'm out.